na ay mga binuhi nga iro, no? Sa mga papa, mga kabombo, no, nga ganahan ng mga dog lover. Naka-standby mga kabombo sa sabi ka sa linya si Sir Mike Gonzalez Bunag, ato ang dog trainer karong buntaga mga kabombo.
Bombo exclusive interview.
Sir Mike, maayong buntag. Welcome sa Bombo Radyo Cebu.
I'm Tagalog, makasabat man sa Bisaya.
Opo.
Sir, makasama sa Kagbisaya, sir?
Gamay.
Okay, gamay. Okay. Nagkatawa naman ako ang partner nila, Sir Mike.
Opo.
Wait, Sir Mike, father na ba ka, sir, if you don't mind, or still single?
I'm sorry.
Single ka po ba?
Single status.
A single status matter.
Single pa. So, it's not the right time to greet Happy Father's Day, Sir Mike. Single pa
Happy
dahil
Father's Day to everyone. To all the family.
Yes, so Sir Mike, no, we will talk about dog training, sir. No, so what's the basic when it comes to dog training, Sir Mike?
I guess the most basic is teaching the dog how to learn and teaching the dog yung mga like the good behaviors and bad behaviors, or like you want to limit it or manage it. It depends on the age. But basically, we want the dog to know that behaving properly or how you expect the dog to be will get the dog rewarded. So we want to use positive reinforcement, especially in the beginning.
Okay. So, ano po ba, Sir Mike, no, ang pwedeng iturong basic lang na yung especially sa pag-discipline ng mga dogs, Sir Mike?
So for teaching the dog the basics, I would suggest that you teach a dog how to sit, how to stay, how to wait to be fed, so that the dog will, as it grows up, before it gets worse, usually kasi people will contact a dog trainer when problems already arise na is showing na. So it's better to do the training early on at a young age so that we can prevent bad behavior. So teaching the dog to do things and leading the dog is very beneficial so that the dog will not lead itself.
Okay. So, how about, Sir Mike, no, for example, yung pong mga 4 months old, mga puppies, Sir Mike, oo, parang gusto pa po nilang, yung pag may mga ngipin na po, Sir Mike, no, gusto nilang kumain na kahit ano na lang. So, so how to discipline those dogs or puppies, Sir Mike?
So we want to set the dog up for success. So how I deal with this, especially with a very young puppy, like around 4 months, as you said, is that we make sure that the room where the dog or the puppy is staying at is puppy proof. So the dog cannot rehearse bad behaviors like chewing on furnitures, biting your slippers, your shoes. Kasi at this age, the dog is so young, we don't want to give the dog a correction. So it's going to ruin your relationship if you give the dog a correction like that age.
Okay.
So it's better to manage the situation. Usually it goes away when the dog grows up. Although sometimes it doesn't go away, the dog will still, like chewing on furnitures or your stuff. So that's when you need to really deal with it. Pero at a young age, 4 months, I would just manage it by maybe puppy proofing the place.
Like for example, sir.
For
Puppy.
example, putting the dog inside a playpen or a crate. So at that age, 4 months old, all I do with the dog is socialize it. By that I mean bring the dog to different places. Doesn't necessarily mean interact with dogs or humans. I want them to be neutral to dogs and humans. I don't want them to be excited to see people or dogs, but I don't want them to be afraid of them as well. So
Mm.
I want the dog to be neutral.
Okay. So, magkakatulong po ba, Sir Mike, yung sinasabi niya ng milk bone?
I'm sorry, milk bone. Yeah, that would get the dog, that will give the dog something to do instead of chewing on furnitures. So you can also redirect. For example, the dog is biting your hand or something. You can teach the dog that this is what you need to bite. Instead of my hand, you give the dog this one, and then the dog
Okay.
can play with it.
Okay. So, how about Sir Mike? May mga problema talaga yung mga dog owners, especially pag puppies pa, no? Yung alaga nila. Yung pag poop, saka yung pag umihi na yung puppy, Sir Mike. So, how would a dog owner discipline their dogs or puppies?
Okay. So you need to know that puppies cannot hold their bladder or their pee for too long. So ideally, or as a general rule, you for 2 months old, you take the dog out every 2 hours. 3 months every 3 hours until 6 months. So the older the dog, the longer they can hold their pee and poop. So what I would do is take the dog out every time he's supposed to be taken out. For let's just use a 4-month-old dog as an example. So every 4 hours, I'll take the dog to the same spot every time, so that he knows that I'm making him, or I'm waiting for him to empty his bladder or to poop. And I will also keep the feeding time and feeding what do you call this? How much you feed the dog consistent, because that will determine also the schedule.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Okay. So, talking about like feeding the puppies, Sir Mike, like after they eat their meal ba, like how many minutes before they're going to poop, Sir Mike?
Usually, I would take the dog out right away. After eating, take the dog to the same spot, and then I'll just wait for the dog to pee or poop. And then it's important that you mark that behavior by saying good boy, good girl, and then pet the dog as soon as the dog does that. Make a big deal out of it. Like you can pet the dog, love on the dog, good girl, good boy, as soon as the dog starts peeing, so that he knows that it's something good.
Mm-mm. Okay. And how about like constant barking, Sir Mike?
Now, it depends on what type of barking, because barking is a very natural thing for dogs to do. They bark when they want to alert us. They bark when there's a stranger. So, ako, with my own dog, I let my dog bark for a few minutes. But as soon as the person comes inside the house, I'm gonna stop the dog from barking. I'll say, Danny, no. That's my dog's name. Danny, no.
Yeah.
And then the dog should stop. But the dog should know the meaning of no. So, yeah, that's important. But if, like, let's say there's no one around and then the dog is just making noise, just getting your attention, I will ignore the dog. I will ignore. Never give the dog attention for barking, because the dog will learn that that's the only thing that he or she needs to do to call you, and then you will come out.
I see. Okay. So, kasi, I actually have a 4 months old na
Mhm.
puppies, Sir Mike. Yes.
Mhm.
And I adopted it from Mom Hazel.
Okay.
Yes. And we have two 1-year-old dogs.
Mm.
And itong mga 1-year-old, Sir Mike, no, yung isa, he keeps on barking actually kahit tapos ng kumain, kahit wala namang tao. Parang gusto lang talaga niyang mag-bark, parang ganun.
I see. So we need to know what the dog is feeling. So sometimes is the dog crated, free, or caged? What is the situation of this dog that keeps on barking?
Ito pong 1-year-old namin, Sir Mike, ano po siya, may chain.
May chain, okay. So sometimes it can be because the dog is frustrated, so maybe he needs exercise. So I would give the dog physical exercise, and not only that, it's more important actually to give the dog mental stimulation. So I would train the dog to give the dog something to look forward to every day. So that's also gonna be a good way to bond with the dog.
Mm-mm.
So again, if the dog is barking, there's always a reason. We just need to know the reason why. We don't correct the dog right away or like scold the dog, say no. We need to understand, why is this dog barking? Did I do my part? Did I not exercise this dog? Or is he just being makulit or kiyat?
Yeah, so okay po ba, Sir Mike, no, yung gagawing walking, and kung okay lang po ba yung walking, how many times, like per week or per day, na pwedeng i-walk yung mga dogs?
So for that question, it depends on the dog. Some dogs are more physical; they have more energy and endurance. So I would do, instead of walking the dog, I will play with the dog in a way that will tire the dog faster than walking. Because sometimes, like I have a dog, a Belgian Malinois. If I walk 3 hours with my dog, it's nothing for her, and I don't have 3 hours to spend every day. So what I would do is I'll just throw a ball. I have a long leash on the dog so that if in case someone walks by, they won't feel scared. I'm gonna get the dog back. So we can play fetch or we can jog. And yeah, it depends on the breed. Like if it's a small breed, let's say a French bulldog with a small, short snout or short muzzle, they easily feel hot, and you cannot do like 30 minutes of jogging with that dog. The dog might go on a heat stroke. So you need to be very careful and assess your dog.
Sir Mike, kailangan po ba talaga na like a professional dog trainer, or pwede ding malaman, no, ng mga like kagaya namin, no, kagaya ko ng mga na dog owner, Sir Mike, tapos we can just discipline our dogs on our own, sir?
Yeah, I am encouraging everyone to train their own dogs. You don't really need a professional trainer to train your dog, as long as you are looking at the correct information online, because there are also a lot of things that are out there na inaccurate. So
Okay.
I would suggest that you follow my page on Facebook. It's Dog Trainer Cebu.
What's that again, sir?
Dog Trainer Cebu. That's the name of my page on Facebook. I also have a YouTube account. And I'm not really keeping any secrets. Whatever I'm doing with the dogs here that I train, I'm almost always shooting a live video on Facebook when I'm training a dog from scratch.
Okay.
So all you have to do is just copy what I'm doing. And I also give out information about training theory, so that it's easier for you to understand what I'm doing and why.
Sir, you've made mention, no, earlier, like the dogs need to understand no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so ang challenge po dito, or ang tanong ko po, Sir Mike, how would we like perform, or what to say para maintindihan naman ng aso na yan, no. So, dapat hindi yan gagawin.
Sige. So, first, before teaching the word no, I teach the dog the word yes. So, with my way of teaching, I use 2 words, yes, no, and a release word, okay. But I'm gonna get into that later. So, first, I teach the dog that yes means you're doing something right, or I like what you're doing. Therefore, you will hear this sound, a click, or I'll just say yes. So you can use verbal marker or a clicker to mark that behavior. For example, I'm teaching a dog to sit down. I'm going to use the food to lure the dog into a sit position, and then as soon as the butt hits the ground, I say yes, and then I'll give the dog reward. I'll
Okay.
do that. Yes, I'll give the dog a reward. And then the dog will know yes means I'm gonna get paid. So it's something good. Or maybe click means I did something, my butt hit the ground, so I think I should keep sitting na lang from now on. And then for teaching the word no, you can either do this. For example, you're teaching a dog to sit down. The dog tries to stand up, and then the dog goes up like this. I remove the food. No. So it can be as simple as withholding food for the
Mm.
dog to understand the meaning of the word no. It can also be like if the dog pees accidentally on your bed, you can nope, clap your hand. Just try to sort of startle them a bit, or you can use a bottle like nope, anything that is unpleasant to the dog. So you want to associate something unpleasant to the word no, so that the dog knows yes, okay, that's good. No means I should not do this anymore.
No, like, in your experience, gano'n ba kahirap ang pag-train ng dogs?
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm sorry, yung audio nawala. Can you repeat your question?
Yes, gaano po ka gaano po kahirap Sir Mike, no, na pag-train po ng dog, sir?
Okay. So each dog is different. It depends on the dog that is in front of you. And I don't generalize a dog per breed. I really look at the dog that is in front of me. Because some people say golden retrievers are friendly, but not all. Some people say German Shepherd is aggressive, but not all. So it depends on the dog. So it's the same with if you look at a litter of puppies of the same breed, they all have different personalities and they will have a different pace when it comes to learning. So some dogs are easy to train, some dogs are not. But if you know what you are doing, it's simple. It's
Mm-mm.
ano lang. It's very simple. They just need clear communication so that there's no confusion. And if the dog is not confused, the dog will easily learn. Especially if the dog is motivated when it comes to food or playing. That's gonna make the job easier.
Mm-mm. Okay. So, my difference po ba, Sir Mike, when it comes to training a breed dog and tsaka po yung aspin?
It depends. So if the Astin or Asong Bisaya, that's what they call it in Cebu,
Yes.
is maybe you got the dog, the Aspin since puppy pa lang, then it's not any different than training a dog that came from someone. But if the dog is rescued, like we adopted a dog from someone who was a rescue. The dog was just roaming around Ayala. So that dog grew up in Ayala. So there's a lot of negative experiences, and I don't know what happened to that dog, but he's really scared of men. And
Okay.
really, it will take a while for anyone to be able to approach that dog. So because of a lot of those negative things that happened in the dog's life, it's gonna be a bit harder. It will take a while to train that dog because you have to earn its trust. So it's harder for those kinds of dogs. But like I said earlier, it depends on the dog. Some strays are really okay with anyone.
Mm-mm.
So maybe they're more confident. If it's a genetically predisposed to be fearful dog, then it will be harder.
Mm-mm. Okay. Sir, nung that was last week, I guess, or this month, to Momo Russell, may balita po yung sa Rottweiler dun sa
Opo, opo.
Oslob.
Mhm.
Oo. Sir,
Last week
is
po
it
yun.
is it hard to train a Rottweiler o ganyan na po ba talaga ka-agresibo yung mga Rottweiler, sir?
Hindi. They're not. It's not the breed. If you will really pay attention to smaller dogs, a lot of small dogs are aggressive. And the reason for that is because it's a small dog, we don't take it seriously, and if it becomes aggressive, it's not that a big of a deal. So we don't train the small dogs. It's very rare that I get small dogs here for training. It's rare.
Okay.
So that explains it. So probably it just so happened that the dogs in that video maybe is not trained. But again, it depends on the dog. Some dogs are really born to be aggressive, like genetic na. Like it's in their genes na that they're like that. Maybe the father is like that, or the grandsire is the same, and then it was passed on. So I would not breed a dog who is highly civil aggressive.
Mm-mm. What do you mean by civil aggressive, sir?
So yung aggression niya is like ano siya, very very territorial and dominant na aso. That's what I mean. So some dogs kasi like you can teach them to be aggressive, but if they are naturally aggressive, it's like you have a ticking bomb in your hand. So you have to be responsible like every time. You don't wanna just keep that dog inside the cage, di ba? Kasi
Mm-mm.
that's not good for the dog. So you want to take it out, so you have to do it in a responsible way. How? You put a muzzle on the dog. How do you put a muzzle on your dog? You train the dog to be used to putting on a muzzle on him.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, and you also have to maybe contact a trainer for that because by the way, not all dogs can be changed. Like for example, that Rottweiler, I don't know the age. Maybe if it's older na, it's gonna be harder, and it's super unfair for the dog to let the dog be that way, and then one day, oh, you need to change na because people saw the video. You need to change this. It's unfair. Like we allow the dog to be that way, and then all of a sudden, we're going to punish the dog for being aggressive.
Mm-mm. Okay. So, Sir Mike, at least it's cleared na coming from you na it's not about the breed na aggressive yun. Kasi may mga nagsasabi na yung Rottweiler, no, hindi dapat i-pet. No? Kasi aggressive daw na aso, Sir Mike. So, it...
Hindi, that's
Okay.
not true. So I guess that maybe with the right owner, it's a good dog. It's a good dog. Because if you're going to get a dog, you have to make sure that there's information naman online like needs a strong handler. Usually it says that way, di ba? If you look up the Rottweiler. So you just need to take it seriously. It really needs a strong handler because you're not always lucky that you will get a very mellow dog, especially if it's a big one like a Rottweiler. You should at least know how to read a dog, know how to handle a dog. So nothing against people who say that this breed is aggressive, pero maybe they have a tendency to become that way. But it depends on the person who is caring for the dog or raising the dog. Then any
Mm-mm.
dog can be aggressive.
Okay. So, in your experience, Sir Mike, no, ano pong challenges, no, along the way, being a dog trainer, Sir Mike?
It's easy to train a dog for me because I know what I'm doing. It's harder to train humans. Okay, kasi ganito. I'll train a dog here for 4 weeks minimum, and then as soon as a dog goes home, it's just the beginning. What I'm doing here is just like an introduction for the dog of what lies ahead. So I teach the owner, and then it's up to the owner to continue the training. So you have to have time. You cannot just, oh, I have money, I'll pay you this, and then I want the dog to be perfect when it goes home. It doesn't work that way. You also need to do something. You need to build a bond with your dog. You have to establish boundaries. You need to train the dog obedience so that you will have an obedient dog because if you don't train the dog, it's not going to be like a life-changing thing yung training niya with me. So, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Training humans is harder kasi they are more stubborn.
Yes. So, Sir Mike, no, just curious. Did you study or nag-study ba kayo mga dog trainer or what?
So, I've been training dogs since grade 5 pa ako, and I'm now 36. So it started when I saw a commercial sa it's like home shopping not channel, something like that. A commercial of a dog training VHS during that time. If you know what VHS is.
Yes.
So my mom did not buy that for me because it's expensive. So I tried doing it myself and using pandesal to make the dog jump and all that. So I kind of learned on my own, and then as ngayon, there's a lot of information online. You also can learn just by watching YouTube or Google, and not just experiencing it firsthand. You can also ask other trainers, and like right now we have some webinars. I'm attending some webinars from this person from Belgium. And you really need to keep updating yourself kasi it's not like what they're doing yesterday, maybe it's different na today. You always need to be updated.
Okay. So, Sir Mike, may gusto po ba kayong idagdag na hindi ko po na itanong?
Siguro just lang, if you're gonna get a dog, make sure that the dog fits your lifestyle and your experience in taking care of dogs. So that's the most important thing. And research. And when you're picking a dog, pick the dog that's in front of you. Don't base it on what Google said about the breed, because it's not always like that.
Okay. So, mensahe nyo po, parting message para sa ating mga dog owners na nakikinig po over the radio and sa Facebook Live, Sir Mike.
Yun po. So, please train your dogs and set boundaries. Be fair to your dog kasi not teaching your dog what's right and wrong is very unfair, because one day, eventually, you will tell the dog no and he doesn't know what it means. And also, please follow my Facebook. It's Dog Trainer Cebu, and also same thing on YouTube, Dog Trainer Cebu.
Okay, so with that point, Sir Mike Gonzalez Bunag, sir, maraming salamat. Daghang salamat, Sir Mike, and good morning.
Thank you, then. Good morning.